This is a Moto X second generation, and this is another Moto X2, just demolished. Today, I'm going to be using this mostly functioning Moto X2 to fix the demolished one. Now, this may seem odd, and you're probably wondering why I'm even doing this, but trust me, there's a reason. Well, reasons. So, to start off, this Moto X2 has a bad speaker, a bulging battery, a crap ton of markings on the backplate from a case, and an entire chunk missing from its frame. This Moto X2, on the other hand, has a good battery, a good frame. Listen, it's just a dent, it's fixable, it's not perfect, I never said it was perfect. A good motherboard, and since it's on Verizon, that means it should be fully unlocked because all Verizon flagship phones are unlocked, as far as I know. But anyways, I'm gonna quit ranting, and yeah, let's just get started with this restoration. I'm going to start with the broken X2, and the first thing I'm going to do with it is take out the SIM card tray because, well, we need to get rid of that if we want to take it apart. Now, under the SIM card tray, there's a tiny little hole in the frame. You can see it right there, and you want to take a SIM card tool or something of the sorts and push until you see a gap between the backplate and the frame, which then you can grab a card or something of the sorts, like a, well, proper tool, I could say, and you want to put that in between the backplate and the frame and then cut the adhesive between the two parts, which will help release the backplate and give you access to all the screws that you need to unscrew. When using your tool, make sure not to hit this cable on the top left, and once you get enough leverage, you can just use your hands to pull the rest of the backplate off, making sure not to bend it a lot, because doing so can result in white spots or stress marks in the plastic, which can be bad for both its appearance and its shape. Also, if your screen is broken, make sure not to get any glass shards on your hands for obvious reasons. Now what I'm going to do is grab a small head for a screwdriver and get all the skunk from in between the crevices and whatnot of the frame. And as you can see, it already looks a lot better than what it used to look like, so that's good. At this point, I decided to prep myself for disassembling the other X2, so I got everything moved over, and it's time to turn this thing off. Removing the backplate on this thing is so easy because number one, there's a chunk missing from the frame, so I have an easy place to grab it, and number two, the adhesive is just so weak now. And with that done, we can put the working Moto X2 to the side and start working on getting the screws out of the other one. It's a new day for those who are wondering, and here's the screw bit that I have chosen to use. It is a S2 or T3, I don't even freaking know. And while the first screw comes out totally fine, the second screw, on the other hand, gets stripped. And that pissed me off a lot, because then I had to go and find a way to get that screw out without damaging anything inside of it, including the frame, which was needed, of course. But I did get it out with the persuasion of a hammer and my flathead bit. So, I mean, that's good, I guess. And finally, it is time to get back to unscrewing these darn screws. So far, so good. But remember when I stripped that first screw out? That's just foreshadowing the hell I have to go through later on. I mean, right now. Crap. So after about an hour, I finally get that darn screw out, and it's time to continue. Never mind. I stripped another one. Stripped. Oh crap. I'm done? I wanted to get into this thing with a freaking knife after doing that, but that would be bad, so no. And as a matter of fact, how about we unplug everything that's on the frame before removing it? That would be a good idea. Dude, these things suck. Fine, I'll get better ones, chill out. And right here we are removing the ribbon cable that goes to all the buttons. That means the power button and the volume buttons. It's kinda hard to reach, and it takes a tiny bit of skill not to break that little clear plastic piece that holds the thing in, and yeah, I broke it out. Also, I removed the wrong thing. I was supposed to, remove this thing. I didn't even need to remove that ribbon cable because that's connected to the frame anyways. I'm not the smartest human being, okay? Here's what we should have removed first. The battery connector. I don't know why I forgot about this, but here we go. Hopefully it doesn't screw anything up. now that it's in between everything else, but yeah. For some reason, the clip of me removing the frame is gone, but essentially what I had to do was remove literally 5 more screws, and then the frame came off with literally no budge at all. But anyways, now we can remove both of the screen connectors, which are number 1, the touchscreen one, which is right here, and number 2, the AMOLED display connector, which is the one in the bottom left of the screen. You can sort of see it right there. The clip of me removing that is once again gone, but yeah, there it is. But once you got everything disconnected, you can just pretty much lift the motherboard right off of the screen and put that to the side. It's just held on by a few clips. Look at me, guys, I'm very funny. I don't know what just snapped, but okay. Now it's time to start working on this one, the working phone. I should probably get out the stripped screw counter again. And while I did strip a few screws, I was actually kind of surprised at how little that number was. It was very little compared to the last Moto X2, which I just disassembled, which was awful. Also, this time I made sure not to forget these screws, and at this point we are almost ready to take off the retarded frame that's on this phone. We first need to disconnect the battery, and then we need to disconnect the little ribbon cable up at the top left. And now we are finally ready to take off that frame and then take off the motherboard. Oh wait, there's a SIM card tray. Yeah, don't forget that. So now that we are inside, once again, we are now able to remove the motherboard, and honestly, it doesn't even look like the battery is swollen. I think it's something in between the battery and the frame, but I'm not really sure. Anyways, let's remove that motherboard and get that crap swapped. Out with the old and in with the new. Here we have the Verizon board, and we're going to put this inside of the phone, and after doing so, we can then plug the screen cables back in. Then we're going to put on the mid-frame and try and test out the phone with just the battery and the board plugged in and nothing else plugged in or screwed in, just to test it out before we fully put it back together. So as you can see, it is working, at least as far as I know, so I'm going to unplug it and put it all back together. So it's probably going to be difficult to try and find all of the surviving screws that weren't stripped, so I'm just going to speed this up and get through it like that. So I'm finally done screwing in all the screws besides the bottom left screw, and that is because with the old frame, when the chunk was ripped out of it, it also ripped off the little screw holder, whatever you call them. I don't even know what they're called, but it ripped it out with it, so that's no longer on the screen, so unfortunately I don't have that, and if I try and put a screw there, it'll just fall off, so oh well. Now before I put the phone back together, I decided to clean off the back plate, because you can obviously see how dirty it is, so I at least tried to clean it, but honestly it didn't even really get that much better. Now what I'm doing here is just trying to see if the back plate fits on properly and if it bubbles or not before I fully put it back together. And since it does, I can take that weird little metal ring thing and put that back on the phone and then find some good screws for it. And here we go, I finished putting in all the screws, and I decided to skip over showing you guys that because it's boring, of course. And the final things you need to put back in the phone before you close it up are those little rubber seal thingies. I don't really know what to call them, but there's one for that connector up at the top left, and there's one for the battery, and like I just said, you want to put those back in properly, of course. But after that hour it took you to get that thing back in properly, you can finally close up the phone and seal it up for good. Also, don't forget to put the SIM card tray back in, of course. And with that finishing touch, we're done. So here it is, the 16GB unlocked Moto X2. I hope you guys enjoyed this restoration video. I literally stayed up until 4, so this exact voice recording right here is being recorded at 4 in the morning. But anyways, as you can see, one thing I didn't mention in the video is that I did fix that dent up at the SIM card tray, so that's great. But aside from that, this is now a fully functional Moto X2, and I will be saving all the leftover working parts just in case I need them in the future. And with that being said, I need to get some sleep, so if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, and if you like seeing my content and want to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any of that. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.